Hello and welcome to Tiko update number 7. Man, there has been a lot of things that have happened, not necessarily from Tiko themselves, but from the backers and the owners of the 200 printers that have been sent out. They have been giving us very, very valuable information over the past couple of days since the last update I did. And that update kind of had a few of the things in there. Of course, the Danny experiments, and we're going to get to the Danny experiments part 2, basically what this whole update is going to be about. But let's get on to, there hasn't been an official update yet from Tiko. I haven't talked to them for a little while as well. I'll probably reach out and see if I can get a comment from them or something. Who knows? But on the Tiko comments, after I kind of said how terrible they were, the terribleness has now shifted to focusing on what Danny has been doing. And one of the things that have been found out is that any website based on the current build of the software that Tiko runs on, any website can make a command and send a Tiko on your network commands. That was tested. Someone wrote the script using Danny's discoveries, and then Danny ran the script, and it worked. So that's something that can be used for both good and evil. Basically, some website could tell your printer to do some crazy things and basically destroy itself. Or you can go to a website and be like, yes, I would like to print that. Click it, and it'll print it. You don't have to worry about anything. It'll automatically do it for you. You won't have to go and do any other second step or anything. And as long as that thing is configured correctly, it'll print correctly. So that's kind of a two-sided coin there, but they said that the way that it's done isn't anything too dangerous and is using typical code that would be used. However, just there's always that fear that anything like that could be used in a malicious way. So yeah, that's not good. But let's get to the Danny experiments. This is the experiment. I asked him to use a third-party slicer to see what the comparison was. He did that. He already had plans for that, like I said in the previous update. Well, he got around to it and finished it. So this is the purpose of this, obviously, is to see if a third-party slicer will solve any issues isolating hardware issues. As such, only conditions difficult for native slicer were tested. So hexagon base and the best case scenarios from the previous experiments were excluded because obviously it already prints that well with the current slicer. So, and again, all of this information will be in the description below. At least you'll be able to get to all of this stuff, so you can read it and look at it yourself. So the findings were the ideal conditions, obtuse angles are still ideal. Right angles, curved angles are no longer an issue. Software issues verified on that one. Very little threads and empty space. Software issue verified on that one as well. Previous dimension uncertainty of 1 millimeter reduced to roughly about plus or minus 0.4 millimeters. Seemingly magnitude is software issue, but dimensions have consistently been bigger, not ever smaller, except for circular hexagons. This may be a hardware/firmware issue. A negative is that circular objects are confirmed to be rounded hexagons. Measurements were done across the sides and the edges, showing consistent differences in width. You'll see the pictures of that up on your screen. Suggests hardware/firmware issues on that one as well. Small objects are still unreliable, no matter if it's this slicer or another. Again, hardware firmware issues, more than likely. Shifting midsection is still apparent. No external forces were applied. Again, more than likely a hardware or firmware issue. The bottom line is, besides small prints, simplified 3D, which is what he used, the software he used, seems to bring out the best of Tiko, effectively bringing print quality to usable status. It can reliably, at hobby grade print, most models. Some issues still present may most likely be hardware/firmware related. Bottom line, Tiko is usable for non-small prints with simplified 3D. So, you're going to see all the pictures of the prints. He did the square, he did the circle, he did the upright circle and the upright square. He did that little plastic clamp looking thing again. He also did a complex print that was requested. It looks pretty good for the most part, but not necessarily the most fantastic thing you've ever seen. But it is better than what the default slicer would do. So that was third-party software print experiment. I think it went really well. I think it shows that this thing has real potential if they just fix small things. And again, it may be firmware. Who knows? But at this point, with third-party software, it is usable and will get the job done for the people that bought it. They just want to print off little knickknacks or whatever just to get their fix of having a 3D printer. That's what it will do. Is that necessarily the ultimate goal of what Tiko sold it as? Maybe. I don't know. That's why I bought it. I don't really care. As long as it can print something and I can go, yep, that looks like what I printed and I can use it, then I'm good. So that's what third-party software allows it to do. It gets it to that point. Their current software does not. Fine, whatever. Glad they changed the settings on that, basically allowing third-party G-code. So then he did an experiment with the Tiko API. And that's where I was saying previously where a website could control this printer if you wanted it to. So the purpose of this was to see if there's an internal API which can be used to control the Tiko without the editor. So going around the Tiko software completely. So he observed HTTP requests from the editor for clues of API. If clues exist, break down the packets to identify useful information. If useful information exists, organize a list of API call requirements. Validate that list by testing them with a flavor of different things. I think it says curl, wget, HTTPIE. It's getting deeper into web protocol than I know personally. And the results are, indeed, there is an API. From this basic test alone, we can now program the Tiko. Retrieve status reports such as self-tests, Wi-Fi saved, and detected. Load/unload filament, control the LEDs, calibrate, skip auto and manual, print and cancel. As there's quite a bit of data, it was best to organize it into a few pages. He wonders if there's any enthusiastic testers out there who could make use of this. So again, you'll be able to see all of this. I'm sending it all in the comments below. I guess I'll have pictures of this. Who knows? So he said for shits and giggles, he made a quick extension to Cura's connection class. Now supports Wi-Fi printing with Tiko. Tested working with all three calibration modes. Is particularly useful for the ability to input exact manual calibration numbers. He says it's pretty cool, but just a proof of concept. Also uncovered another limitation. Tiko does not seem to have any state communication in the API, such as printing progress, temperature, etc. Even Tiko's own editor time calculation is predefined, proven by disconnecting Wi-Fi, the progress bar still goes on. Many of Cura's functions cannot be used as such. So, I mean, pretty interesting stuff there, that there is an API that can be exploited, and I use that term very loosely because if it's available and not... if I can easily see it and find it, then that is not revealing a secret, because packet sniffing and getting information is a well-known thing, and packets aren't a secret most of the time. Now, packets become a secret if they're encrypted, but they have to be encrypted to where I can't read them. But if I can read the packet clearly, it is not a secret. Thus, there's no problems there. So this experiment, a lot of good information there. Again, like he said, someone made a website and it had commands in it for Tiko, and Tiko did those commands. So I find that very, very, very interesting with that. Now, the next experiment that he did, as I said before, he had a filament jam. So this whole thing is to fix the filament jam that he had. So the purpose, to find clues of what might be causing the chronic filament clog and potentially fix it. Again, these are very important things that we need to know. So the premise is Tiko sent him instructions on how to take apart the nozzle and fix this issue. The result, so Tiko sent him the instructions. First, pop off the arms, detach the accelerometer, undo twist lock to remove liquefier assembly. Result, step 3 was not possible. Found out filament was actually fully connected inside, possibly all the way to the nozzle. This means it is not clogged at the twist lock opening. Also, unload filament does not seem to work. So I can't take out the filament. Since that concludes their instructions, I was not able to fix anything. Found this metal clamp circle that seemed to have dug into the filament tube substantially. Not sure if this is meant by design, but it sure looks tight enough to stop filament from going smoothly. I might snap this part in a future experiment to see if it helps. Finally, he took a few photos, which you're going to be seeing, of what the inside of what's inside. Extra findings was the cable housing detached from nozzle to begin with. Metallic pads connected to the nozzle seem to have significant corrosion. Many smaller acrylic cracks observed around the inner rim, especially at the power jack corner. The white plastic housing is screwed into and glued to the gray top housing by what seems to be the same glue that holds the transparent acrylic. It was a smooth, hard texture, quite solid. All components are connected by fairly standard connectors, convenient for development, but almost invites hacking or, upgrading, redesigning, and all that. Not necessarily hacking. Motor cable connections were easy to pull off with very little force. Potential shipping problem can occur. That is true. That could happen. This is all within the scope of their disassembly instructions. Didn't dig any deeper. So here's all the photos from that. Now, so far, as of right now, he still has not fixed this issue. This is not good. This is something that either hopefully is just an issue with his Tiko, but I have been seeing based on a few other ones that this is not just an isolated issue. So obviously there is something somewhat going on with the loading and unloading and feeding and all of that of the filament. Now, I don't know if that was something that is different within that there was a different piece or hardware in the Tiko wall, because the Tiko wall varied slightly across some products than the final parts that people are being shipped. Why this is, I have no idea, but that does seem to be the case, which kind of defeats the purpose of the Tiko wall, but whatever. I mean, we'll get into that. That's something to worry about, I guess, later on. But if the filament feeder and all of this changed between the Tiko wall and the final product, then they really need to redesign that, because obviously there's a problem. A lot of people had a problem feeding it. A lot of people have problem removing it and changing filament. And that is a standard process that really should be nailed down. So that is this of anything is what worries me the most. There really isn't much. I think everything else is doing a decent amount that I can deal with, but loading and unloading filament and feeding filament are kind of really big issues that can't be fixed by software. So let's hope that is something that is fixed. Now, lastly, let's talk about some of the issues that Danny had while doing these experiments. And these experiments had quite a number. And he also had a few things that just kind of went wrong in general that he showed. So a lot of times there was bad adhesion to the plate, which a lot of people are having problems with that. It was making noise while it was printing that it normally wasn't, which a couple people were having that, which that might be the motors not necessarily aligned. But the big thing, which we kind of saw before, seen before, or whatever, is when he was doing the first print of the standing upright square with simplified 3D. It got to the end of the print and then decided to dip the hot end down into the square. And you'll see the pictures of that. And that's not necessarily something that you want to see when your printer is printing. Now, it didn't do that the second time, but it definitely did it nonetheless. Now, another thing that it does is it'll spit out random filament, which, again, I think we've seen that before, but it's definitely something that is cause for concern. Just, spitting out a whole bunch of filament and wasting it. Nobody wants wasted filament. Nobody wants that at all. So we'll see. Again, that might be something that can be fixed with software, but as I said previously, with the last experiment the filament got freaking stuck. So who knows? And here's some pictures, or there will be some pictures of the print that he was working on when the filament did get stuck. He said the filament just got thinner, stuttered, more beads, more threads, as if there was something heavy pulling onto the filament, and then it stopped altogether. So I think he's on the right track. I thank him for all that he has done. These experiments are fantastic. A lot of information here. And I'm glad he's here to help us and share with us with this information. So hopefully we have some news by the end of the week from Tiko themselves saying, look, we've been reading all this stuff. We've been working hard with our suppliers. We've gone back through, unboxed 1,000 that were ready to be shipped out, fixed those, tested those again. they seem to be good. We've put them back in the box, and now we're shipping them off to people. We're moving hard. We see what's going on. We understand that the software is behind. We recommend using these things. Here's where you can find the settings for that, and go with it from there. And and be like, we're putting the software on the back burner, as far as recommending you use it, but we are still going to be updating it, and trying to get it up to snuff. However, here's what you can do to make it work. I think that would be best for everybody. So who knows? We'll find out. So yeah, that's all I got. That's all I got. Everything seems to be getting better on the comments section. So I want to thank everybody for that. And I want to thank everybody for watching these videos. And I'll keep making them as long as there's some information, and until I get mine, this is all I can do. So if you like this video, hit the thumbs up. If you disliked it, hit the dislike button. Leave a comment if you have any more questions, and I will try to answer them to the best of my ability. And we'll see you in the next video.